Hello, everyone. Happy May the 4th, Star Wars Day. Um, Clone Wars ended today. I'm quite sad about it. So, here I am doing an episode 12 review. And this is mainly going to end up being like a review of the Clone Wars series as a whole, but we'll get into all of that sappy stuff later. Get all fat and sassy. So, the episode opens with Padme's funeral music, and that was just perfect. Such a dire theme, such emotion, knowing that this is the final episode in the Clone Wars series, unless they decide to continue it. They've ob- they've obviously called this the final season, um, but one of the devs on the Clone Wars team stated that if we liked it, they might make more, and we don't know what that necessarily means yet. But I'm hoping for more Clone Wars. This is the final season, but it could just mean the final season, as in the last season occurring chronologically. There's still a bunch of arcs that they haven't explored. They haven't closed Saj Ventress's arc, Cad Bane's, Boba Fett's, a lot of the bounty hunter arcs, and some other ones still left to rot. Um, this season was only 12 episodes long. I'm not complaining. Still, even even the quote unquote, as the Star Wars fans like to call it, the filler episodes with the Martez sisters, I'm fine with it. I love it. Um, it's so refreshing to have a break from a lot of the forefront action that you see in the Clone Wars, and especially knowing that a lot of these things have consequences in the episode where Zero the Hutt is escaping. Now we know that's when the Martez sisters' parents were killed. Um, and it's so grounded, and it's really nice to see how people are losing faith in the Jedi, and that is in a way something that does turn Ahsoka farther and farther away from the Jedi Order, and her relationship with Anakin and Obi-Wan is only gets more tense, especially with Obi-Wan. She still has a good relationship with Anakin up until this episode was approximately 20 minutes long, titled Victory and Death. Um, it's basically an escape episode where Ahsoka and Rex are trying to flee the starship that is about to crash into one of the moons nearby. Um, the droids are with them. It starts off in the medical bay after Ahsoka has removed Rex's chip, and they have a plan, essentially, where they don't want to hurt any clones, first of all, so they're stunning them. She's mainly using the Force. Ahsoka is mainly using the Force to knock them out. And I don't think she even kills one clone in this episode. Last episode, she wasn't too concerned about that. She was deflecting shots back at them, but this one, she clearly doesn't want to hurt them, and neither does Rex, especially when Ahsoka, Force, I guess, sees into Rex's mind and knows that he's um, crying over not wanting to hurt his brothers. And that was Rex was very, very good in this episode. A wonderfully developed character, and I love that we're seeing more of who he's become in Rebels. And hopes are high for Rebels too, considering that we're not getting a new Star Wars movie until 2022. I do want to see more TV series, especially we're gonna have The Mandalorian season 2 and season 3. Yes, season 3 has been supposedly in the works recently. Um, so yes, the episode opens with Ahsoka and Rex trying to escape. They have the three droids with them: R7, GG, and CH. Um, which, by the way, spoilers ahead. I don't think I've mentioned that at all. Spoilers ahead. Rest in peace, all the droids, and later we'll get to even more spoilers. So, Maul is also released in this escape. Um, he is in a position where he is heading straight towards the hyperdrive room, and that is, you know, Amazing. Sort of a continuation of what we got last episode with this sort of Vader hallway scene. But not really. But it was really nice to see Maul's full-on rage and his raw power and his raw strength with the Force after being tossed aside by Sidious. Um, so Rex and Ahsoka had this plan where they are trying to act like Rex has taken Ahsoka into custody, and Rex attempts to explain that Ahsoka is no longer part of the Jedi Order and hasn't been for some time. Now, chronologically, we know that that's approximately maybe a few months. Um, Clone Wars doesn't really last that long. Jesse, who is now in charge of the rest of the clone battalion, um, he just said Rex. That's treason. So the droids managed to lower the remaining clones down into like sort of the lower hangar bay, which is sort of the maintenance bay. As they stated, none of the ships there are in working condition, apart from one, which looks like an early prototype of the Y-wing, just a little bit. Um, Obviously, this is before all that Rebels jazz. Bail Organa, he mainly funds the rebellion at this point. He bought them the U-wings. He's funding the X-wings. So this does look like one of the early prototypes of the Y-wings, which we have seen before in the Clone Wars. So that is really cool. Um, Maul escapes while Ahsoka and Rex are dueling the clones, and Ahsoka tries to hold him back, and I've always wanted to see a character in the Clone Wars hold back people. It's sometimes illogical when they're chasing people through the streets of Coruscant, as in the Lost Lightsaber arc and some of the other arcs in Coruscant. When they're chasing people, you could just force grab them. It's not that hard. You don't have to run after them. I guess it's a little bit of a workout, but Maul escapes after Ahsoka tries to pull him back, similar to how Rey and Kylo do it in The Rise of Skywalker. But after seeing that Rex is being overpowered by the clones, she decides to let him go. I do wish we could have seen a little bit more of him in the um, closing moments. I feel like right after the ship crashed, I know that was like supposed to be a seamless transition, but I feel like we should have just seen him maybe converse with Dryden Ross. What? Dryden Voss. Dryden Ross. Wait a minute. And some of the other crime syndicates, the Black Sun. Obviously, he told them to go into hiding, but I really do wish we could have seen more about Crime Lord Maul, because that's where he's eventually going to be seen next in Solo, and after that in Rebels. Um, so Maul escapes. R7 is destroyed, but we do see him um, on the moon after they land. He's directly next to the Y-wing. When Rex puts up his shovel, he appears to be destroyed. I'm gonna assume so. Um, the clone troopers full on execute the droids, Gigi and Cheap, which is just no remorse at all. Um, I really enjoyed Ahsoka as the gravitational pull blows up the main command bridge, and the ship begins to fall downwards. The gravity is starting to pull them downwards, and they're just sliding down everyone. Um, I really loved the whole Ahsoka, jumping around in the air, attempting to grab onto Rex's Y-wing. That's sort of an homage to Episode 9, a little bit, when she first lands on Mandalore. Just, jumping around, like probably tens of thousands of feet above the ground, just chilling. Probably even more, I don't know. I'm saying a lot because this is unscripted and I just wanted to get this video out there. I said again. So the ship crash lands. Everyone's dead. Yeah, I mean, what did you expect if a full-on like Van Alder class just smacks into a surface? Even if an airplane now today smacks into the ground, you're not gonna expect. Some people could survive. It's possible, but likely it's gonna go up in flames. People are gonna die. So, the cruiser impacts the moon. Um, there's no more dialogue. I don't remember what the last word they said in the Clone Wars was, but there's just no more dialogue. Silence as Ahsoka and Rex are burying the clones, and it ends on the shot of Jesse's helmet, which is super, super gut wrenching. It's I hate it, hate it. But this is actually sort of an homage to Mandalorian, where similarly their stormtrooper helmets were also put on spikes, except those were bloody. Although when I was watching the episode, I didn't know Jesse's was having a little bit of reddish blood on there. That's kind of gruesome. Um, I do think this episode was not as gruesome as the last one. The last one was certainly the most gruesome out of all of them. Um, just Maul's hallway scene mainly made up most of that. Um, yeah, not too much gore in this one, but still relatively uncensored. That's just what I love about the Clone Wars. It's targeted for kids, but you really get the sense, the feeling um, that they're not holding back, and that's amazing. So they bury the clones. There's sort of an homage to Ahsoka um, in this moment in the Clone Wars 2 when she shows up in Rebels at the very end, the series finale of Rebels as well. It's sort of like Gandalf the Grey, Gandalf the White. You can kind of see what's happening here. So that's very fun. I do love the framing of all of these shots. The Clone Wars is so good with framing. Ahsoka leaving the Jedi Temple, and then in Rebels when she walks back up to Vader. Right here, Ahsoka and Vader in the same exact place. Like, it's insane, the amount of production that they've done to work on the Clone Wars and make it as good as possible. Ahsoka pays her respects to the fallen clone troopers. She buries her lightsaber. It's not really burying, she just drops it. And we can actually see. So I'm assuming this planet, or this moon actually, is either. It really, really resembles Hoth, but it's not. Um, I guess there's seasons, just like the Earth. So I'm gonna assume this planet's on a tilted axis. So maybe we're in like spring, and the final moments are in winter. Um, which does bring up, an interesting question of when Vader actually visited the crash site and found Ahsoka's saber. But that's nice. It is also um, a reference to how he collects lightsabers. Most of that is in Legends, but he does collect many Jedi lightsabers in canon as well. So that is basically it. The final shot is it's a shot of Vader walking away in one of the clone trooper masks painted in Ahsoka's Togruta, face markings, and that's it. But it is very cool to see. I was unable to stay away from all of the spoilers. Just looking a little bit around the internet, brought up a few of these spoiler images, and I actually thought that this shot right here of Vader holding Ahsoka's lightsaber, I thought that was actually Vader's lightsaber. Um, and he was going to bleed the crystal. They do that in Legends. I haven't seen many instances in canon of them bleeding crystals, but I thought, he would have bled the crystal. I thought this was the crystal caves of Ilum, which also appears in Fallen Order. Oh yeah, and it turns out to be Starkiller Base. Yeah, I thought that was Ilum or Ilum. I was wrong. It's even better. And yeah, there's not much more to talk about. That was the entire episode. That's how Clone Wars ends, at least for now. I'd be perfectly fine if it ends for good. Man, season 6 had a perfect ending to Clone Wars. It was actually ironic how the first episode ever of the Clone Wars started with a Yoda-centered um, episode. So the first episode in the Clone Wars was the Rising, or no, wait, it wasn't Rising Malevolence. It was Ambush, I think. Um, so both the start of the Clone Wars and at that point the end were Yoda-centered episodes, but I do like this ending a lot better. But that one really does provide a lot of calm serenity, and this one just you feel you know what's about to come, um, and it hurts a lot. Um, that's all I wanted to talk about. I was on the verge of tears at some points in this episode. Um, I don't actually cry. I'm just kidding. I didn't cry though, but it was very emotional. Especially when they bury the clones, that was emotional. When Rex, began to cry at the thought of having to kill his brothers, that was emotional. Jesse's helmet, the final shot, like this episode was truly, I think, in my opinion, the best episode that they've ever made in Clone Wars. And there's so many wonderful arcs. Ahsoka leaving the Jedi Order, being framed for the bombing of the temple, the Umbara arcs, and just so many. I don't think there's one arc that really just doesn't fit with the themes of the Clone Wars. You have some arcs that people just don't um, like the droid arcs, that specific arc, um, the Martez sisters, but they all add something to the story, and I really do think that Clone Wars is one of the best shows that is available on Disney Plus, and possibly one of the best shows that I have watched. It's a big part of my childhood. It's a big part of a lot of people's childhood, and I'm gonna say it right here, controversial statement. I think this is better than all three of the Star Wars prequels combined, and I'm gonna say it's better than the sequels. There you go. Clone Wars is so amazing, and can't express my gratitude enough to everyone at the Clone Wars team for making this possible, everyone at Lucasfilm for just helping to overall produce the entire Star Wars series, Clone Wars, Mandalorian, um, the movies, even though some of them, not all fans will appreciate what Disney puts out, but in my opinion, it's just an extension of the Star Wars galaxy as a whole. Personally, would I watch all 9 episodes? No, I'd probably only watch the first 6, but I think this is truly one of the best projects Disney has put out, apart from The Mandalorian. Uh, yeah, thank you to Dave Filoni, everyone at the team, and thank you to George Lucas for creating this whole darn thing. Goodbye.